Well, I mean, it started out that I had this idea that it would be really cool to do something for girls before they went to high school. That idea was forming in my head as a teacher. And I really felt like girls were different than boys and they needed different things than boys did. So could we do something that would be a summer experience before they went to high school to be transformative? In other words, to think about what girls need to feel good about their bodies, confident about that, not beautiful, but confident, and to feel like they were strong and to feel like they weren't uptight about their voices and they weren't uptight about, and actually, let's create a camp where everybody wants to be dorks. Like, that was a big part of it, you know? Like, just get over that stuff.
The High Rocks was founded as a gifted program in the woods. And in the gifted program, you are doing projects. You're doing projects with deadlines. You're doing projects that involve research, that involve things that you don't know yet. So you have to learn how to learn those things because they're not something that you've already been introduced to in curriculum. And you're creating hands-on projects with deadlines that you're presenting to people. So part of it is being experiential, which is hands-on, and part of it is being community building. So the idea that you best educate people together as a community experience with room for the individual to also find their own path in that. And the idea that creating learning communities is fundamental to optimizing learning.
I just got these friends together and we all did it. We were all volunteers. Nobody made any money. The main thing about the first camp is it rained and it rained and it rained and it rained and it was muddy. And we just wanted to go home. We wanted to take a bath. We wanted to eat a cheeseburger. We wanted to talk to our friends. We wanted to just get out of there. Like, it was just the worst thing. And I said, guys, if we do it, there's never going to be a High Rocks. Like, if we stay, it's going to be something. And if we go home, it's not going to be something. So you guys have to decide. And so I think that those girls that were there the first year had to work so hard to make it work that they totally were never going to let it go. And that was the first year.
Yeah, it is really interesting because High Rocks started, basically as an idea. I mean, I'm sure Susan's talked about it, about her crazy idea of just what would happen, kind of a laboratory experiment thing. And it is. An incubation is really a great idea. Is that they tried it and we keep tweaking the experiment a little bit. We keep, well, what if we added this class? We added that class, and we make the day a little bit longer. We make it a little shorter. We added all these things up, and until you find the thing that works, and then pretty soon you've developed a system. Now it's become bigger than an idea. It exists, and it's an institution. At this point, when you've got alums that have children that are High Rocks girls, then you're talking a generation now has moved through.
High Rocks was born out of an idea that we need to serve people who are underrepresented and underserved, and for them to have a space outside of the regular space where there's so much judgment and there's so much pressure. High Rocks needed to come out of that, where people can have that opportunity to grow and to learn about themselves and to once again just have that safe space.
And our participants, they're dreamers, they're thinkers, they're listeners, they're observers. Some of them are very outgoing, but you have to be self-motivated, even if you're not sure if you are. And that's kind of one of the reasons that we have our girls apply to come to camp, because they have to motivate themselves to go through that application process. And then, when they're at camp, we support them and we help them, but they also motivate themselves and they push themselves to stay and to not go home, with the support from the staff and the interns in the AmeriCorps and with the support from the other campers who are here. But when it comes down to it, it's a lot of self-uplifting and self-motivation and self-push.
It's a study in motivation. That's the most important thing to me, is how do you motivate young people to try to respect themselves, respect others, feel smart, go forward, move forward, be independent, be creative, be artistic, and be compassionate, you know?
Regular school, everything is set up to just kind of discourage you from wanting to learn. I mean, you have bells that go off every 30 minutes, so you feel pressured, and you have to dress a certain way, and you have to act a certain way, and you have to be a certain way, and you have to speak a certain way in some cases. But at High Rocks, like I mentioned before, there's this safe space where you can be yourself. Then that helps you to open up more to learning things, and your self-growth, personal growth just takes off from there. So
having a place that both helps you excel as a learner, helps you excel as a leader, helps you excel as an advocate and a supporter of other people, helps you excel as a nurturer and a friend, and does that in the context of being like a family. And doing all of that over years, right? So the High Rocks is not a program that like lasts for a year, or you do it while you're in middle school and then you're done and you move on from it. Not if you don't want it to be. It lasts with you for years and years and years and years. So we're working with middle school students, and we're still working with them when they're in high school. We're working with them when they're in college. We're knowing them and working with them as volunteers and in other capacities as they move past that experience, and as they become mothers for the first time, and as they become board presidents and run for office and take over organizations. That through line is something that doesn't exist in most programs, and I think is a really powerful and important part of High Rock.
And that's like where we start in the beginnings campus. We build that first little base, that's the foundational. And then every summer that they come back for Camp Steel in July, we build a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's those stepping stones of building that foundation and then building that self-confidence and that leadership and the knowledge of like what wellness is and what self-care really looks like. So the goal is that by their last summer at camp, they're gonna feel strong and confident and self-reliant and independent, and like they can be successful. And then as we support them through their first 2 years of college, by that second year of college, they still have us to lean on when they need us, but they can say, I'm stronger than I've ever been, and I am going to be successful regardless of where I go, because I have these tools and I have these resources and I know that I can do it.
For anything, for an idea to go that far into becoming, how many, thousands of people has High Rocks touched, all just starting off of, this experiment, this crazy 2-week experiment in the pouring rain.
So for a while after that first camp, we used to say, are you tough enough for the High Rocks? Are you tough enough? Are you tough enough? This is going to be really hard. And we made on purpose, as we developed things, everything hard. The hammocks were really too hard to get into, and the treehouse was too hard to walk into, and all this stuff. And the showers were cold.
So I've been in a couple different leadership roles at High Rocks throughout the years. And, my first summer, they put me with a group and said, because we do the hike every summer, and the girls go on this long trek at New Beginnings Camp, and everybody takes a turn leading the group. And they stuck me in front of the group and said, okay, look at this map, figure out where we are, here's your teammate, you are co-captains now, and figure out where we're going, lead the group. And I cried. It was terrifying.
Young people want to be smart, they want to be successful, they want to be brave, they want to be beautiful, they want to be adventurers. And the way that you build their ability to believe, really believe, that they can be what they dream of being is by challenging them and having them successfully overcome those challenges. And that's the way any of us get stronger, right? You challenge yourself and you accomplish that challenge, and you do that over and over and over and over again. And that's what growing looks like. And that's what getting stronger looks like. And sometimes you need a supportive situation to be in to say, you can do this. I know this is really hard. I just don't have all of the pathways open to them to do that.
In my leadership roles in High Rocks throughout the years, there's been like one constant. one thing that stays the same, even as like a professional, as like a program coordinator, as the operations coordinator now, the one thing that stays the same is that High Rocks is constantly pushing me to be better and to be my best self and to be a better leader and to step up and to do these different things.
That aspect of being empowered, even though everything else around you tells you that you have no power, having this place that enables you to unlock that power in yourself and to know when to step up, when to speak out, when to help others, when to engage in the community. That wouldn't have come about if somebody didn't say, we should have a place where people can feel safe in voicing their opinions. And really and truly, this organization and this model is the epicenter of what needs to happen.
But the thing about the surprise hardness that you said, I think that was it. Those girls wouldn't have come if they knew how hard it was going to be. And we wouldn't have done it right then. We would have put it off, you know? And so the one thing that I think the most important thing about High Rocks that we've got going for us is the weather. Because we do it all outside. And we never know what the weather's going to be. And we can't control it. And sometimes it's a drought, and sometimes it rains, and sometimes it's a huge windstorm. And where that campground is, it's like a billiard balls going around when it's thundering up there, like, because it's in a cave, kind of like a bull up there, and it's geographically beautiful and spiritual, you know. And sometimes I worry that if we have so many people up there, we won't hear that. We won't hear that silence, you know, anymore up there. That's really important.
There's so many stories about people who have come to High Rocks and what they've taken away is almost miraculous. Like, what happened? Why is this place so special? We have no idea.
Probably my favorite picture of my daughter is seeing her, you know, they do all this preparation for the hike and they paint their face with war paint, and she was just fierce. It was just, for the first time, it was something to see my kid, who was kind of an introvert, shy kid, suddenly just like ready to tackle a mountain at 10 because she's, you know, there with all these older girls and sees, you know, how confident and strong they are, and just wanted to be a part of that energy.
To take this child who is 13, who stares at her feet all day long and won't look anybody in the eye and is afraid to speak, and if you ask her a direct question, she bursts into tears. And to watch her slowly grow and build and come out of that mold into this young woman, and to watch her apply to college and go through the interview process for this college and fight for her spot, to be successful at that place and to build that dream and that goal to achieve, to watch them step into that leadership and to step into those roles and to like progress through High Rocks, to do that personal growth that they all experience. It's the most powerful thing that I've ever seen and that I've ever been a part of.
I think that camp just hits everybody a little bit differently, and for some people it is a lot about like doing something that's hard, but one of the things that I did get from camp, and of course it's always the things that, I mean, I complained about it the most whenever I was a girl, was the idea of solo time, time where we were supposed to be by ourselves and quiet and reflectful, and I was really bad at that. But I was really bad at being able to sit down and listen to my own voice, and I really didn't like getting caught in my own head. But Susan was really adamant about how important that was, to be able to sit by yourself and to think by yourself and to digest by yourself and to be comfortable within your own skin by yourself. And I learned that from her, and I don't think that I would have learned that anywhere else, because there were a lot of things that about the world that I didn't see the same way as my friends or my family.
You know, I've watched, as a junior counselor, I've watched girls that I've counseled come up out of some really hard situations. Whether it was just self-confidence issues or issues at home, they were able to come out of something so dark and so heavy and hard for them that they went through, and because they had this support, this love that they have never received or received so little of at High Rocks, that they were completely transformed. And it's almost like the feeling of drowning, and then somebody just like picks you up, and then you can get a gasp of air and you're like, wow, life is precious. That's how a lot of people, to me, just unfolding in front of my eyes, it seems. Even for myself, High Rocks is a special place where everything else that's going on, and it could be going wrong in your life, High Rocks sometimes was the only thing going right.
Like, what we do at High Rocks as a staff is not easy. It can be really hard, and it can be really exhausting and frustrating, and there are a lot of days where you're like, is it really worth it to put in all of this time and this energy and just get knocked down, or like go through these hard pieces to try and help all of these kids? And it takes one conversation that is maybe 3 minutes long of one of our participants saying, look what I did! Or like, oh, I miss your face! When can I come see you? And it just takes one 3-minute conversation to make all of that frustration and that hardship really worth it, to watch them achieve what they've been fighting for.
Part of the program, one of the big issues is that you're getting this independence from your family, because you're separate, and you can write them letters and they can write you letters, but you're not supposed to be calling home. We kind of keep, that's the idea, is this is your time to grow and to experience things on your own. All that family support that you have, it's not that it's gone, but it's that this is the time that you can lean on yourself. So how does that work when your dad is one of your teachers? And that was something that Sarah and I talked about, and Ravenna and I talked about, and Sarah and Ravenna talked about. And what we best worked was that we weren't going to interact in that way, and that it was very strange, but I suddenly have my daughter calling me, hey Devin, Devin this, and using my name, which it was very, very different. And so we go through the camp. I can't, I would see her struggling sometimes. I couldn't step in and get involved, and I did, I chose not to, and I let her solve them or figure out, or go to other staff members, or find that way to get through things. Yeah, it was really interesting to watch that, to see her interacting with peers, and to see her learning, and from there, she just kind of exploded as a person in the things that she was suddenly interested in. She had always been interested in music, but now she was ready to perform. Now she had the confidence to get up on stage, and somebody knew that she could sing and play, so they'd ask her, and pretty soon every night Ravenna was singing and playing at campfire, and that kind of just support that is what you need for confidence. Confidence has to be built on something.
And that's the whole base of New Beginnings Camp, is we take all of these girls who, most of them have never been away from home. Several of them have never even been camping, and we take all of these little girls and we put them on a mountain outside of their comfort zone. There's no technology, there's no Facebook, there's no social media, there's no cell phones. They're just on this mountain with us, and that's it. They're cut off. And it's taking them out of their comfort zone and having them realize, oh, I'm not gonna fall on my face. I'm not dead. I'm not crying in a corner. I'm not absolutely miserable. And so it's breaking down that stipulation that you have to have these things to be okay. And it's building a new foundation of, I can start with nothing and come out with something.
Just watching that unfold for people, and it's like, wow, I knew you when you hated life, and if you had given up in that moment, where would you be? And where else would you go to find that? Where else would that have happened for you? Had it not been at the campground, or had it not been at the lodge, just kind of talking through life and figuring it out, but having somebody help you figure it out at the same time while they're trying to figure it out. I don't know. High Rocks is magical, and I don't know what goes on that campground, but people are transformed. But it's just some beautiful experiences that happen at High Rocks.
I really learned how to find my voice at camp. I grew up in a big family that was pretty well known throughout town, and I had a lot of community engagement as a child, but in a way that was sort of dictated to me as, as the way that you should go about things. But High Rocks really gave me a space to think about my place in the world and to really filter that through my own truth and my own insights. To be able to really find within myself my own strength and my own power and my own ability to believe in myself was not, for me, a natural thing at all. It was a very learned behavior, and that's an awesome power to know that everything is filtered through your own abilities, and that you can pick things up and you can put them away, and you can own them in certain ways, you can wear them in certain ways, and that you can discard a lot of that as well. I mean, it certainly helped me in college. It certainly helped me to be able to write better. It certainly helped me to be able to speak with more authenticity and with more purposefulness. But not only did High Rocks give me the voice to to know what I thought about things and to have some opinions about some things, but they also gave me the skills to listen and to find common ground and to find a very basic string of humanity, that if we can start from that place of what do we share together, it's a lot easier to understand what we might think about differently.
High Rocks is a place where everyone's voice, thoughts, opinions, feelings, and success are really important and really essential.
From what we do know is that we have this huge percentage that end up going to college, and 4 years straight through, if not going to grad school, there's a large number of girls that are doing that. And there's a large number of girls who are like first generation college students. And not that college is always the ultimate measure of success. We also have High Rocks alums that go and have families and are very successful and happy and living their lives, and then we have High Rocks girls that come back and been AmeriCorps members and been staff members, and that's the thing I think is really neat for me to have seen in lots of different iterations. I'll go and I'll meet an alum that I've never met, from 15 years ago, and they come up and they're here for a day at camp or something, and they stay for campfire. And what's amazing to me is how connected and similar and how easy it is for High Rocks alums to assimilate with a whole new generation of High Rocks girls. They know the songs, they know their way around camp, and even though it's been, it might have been 10, 12 years before, they haven't been there, but something immediately clicks with them and they are back in that space. And I think it's very, it's pretty amazing. I don't know what it is, what's the, what happens, what's the transformative experience. I don't know if it's the whole thing or if there's a piece of it that creates that, but there is a magic on that campground, and everybody who has ever spent time on there has it.
Absolutely. I definitely think that that's true. One thing that I really love about High Rocks is the idea that women, that all people and women in particular are really multifaceted, is something that has been part of High Rocks from the beginning, and that has bloomed and matured. And I think that one of the things that we do is to really support the idea that any way that you want to express your feminism, your femininity, your personality, your lack of feminism and femininity is really acceptable. There is no right way to be a High Rocks girl. There's no right or wrong way really to be much of anything in the world. There are lots and lots of different ways. The most important part isn't doing it the way that you were taught that it should be done, or that you might have some preconceived notions about how things should be done. The most important thing is that you're doing it authentically, and that you're staying true to yourself, and that when you fall asleep at night, you feel good about who you were that day as a person. To have the freedom to just know that there's no one right or wrong way to be things, that you can explore and that you can try on some different hats in life too. That's really, I think that was really important too, is for me, there were definitely a lot of times in my life where I felt like there's something expected of you and that you have to be one thing or the other. And High Rocks definitely helped me realize that I don't have to be any one thing and that I can try on different identities and decide that I don't like them and continue to move on, and that that's a valid choice as well.
Coming into High Rocks, I kind of had an understanding of who I am and where I needed to be. Just this very small understanding of that. But I feel like I could use the analogy of prying a pearl out of the oyster. High Rocks has pried the pearl that I always knew that was inside of me, but I just didn't know how to unlock that. And I think I speak for almost every other High Rocks girl or participant or whatever, is you are so much more, you can do so much more, you have talents and skills. I've seen it unfold, not just for me, but for other people, where they were super, super shy, or they didn't really know how to be themselves, but watching them grow over the years or just the course of 2 weeks during a camp session, they've bloomed and blossomed into this really awesome person. They've always been awesome, but it's you put a magnifying glass and you really see all the nitty-gritty beautiful pieces. And I think for myself included, that's what High Rocks did for me and so many other women, and just everyone is kind of have that effect of prying what's always been inside and just letting that shine. And not always can be white pearl. Some of us are pink and black, and it's okay because we're all awesome. So I think for me, that's kind of what High Rocks does for people, just really unlocking that potential, unlocking that vision that you have of yourself but never really knew how to do.
What I want to talk about is starting High Rocks, and was it something that God wanted to happen? Weird idea. But when we started High Rocks, things kept happening. They just started happening like miracles, And if I was an evangelical Christian, I would say God wanted us to start it, and I could have made a good story out of it. And everybody would have believed it.
In the summer of 2010, I came and I taught theater that summer. That first year, High Rocks was kind of expanding. It had been really centered as the camp, and then it was starting to have these after-school programs in Pocahontas County, but they really wanted, to reach out to all 3 of the service counties. So we brought the tutoring program that was happening up in Hillsborough and expanded that to Greenbrier County. And so really it was, as most things are with High Rocks, it starts with the girls. They wanted more. But it was always something I think that the staff, we wanted to see too. We felt we want to educate, empower, inspire young women, but why stop there?
And that driving force molded, shaped, changed, added to, took away from the programs that we were doing, and always put an additional ask of what needed to be done that wasn't being done yet, that they saw and they recognized. Now, how do we keep up with that? How do we keep up with filling that? How do we find the other partners and the resources and the staff to do it with? And that has driven all of the rest of our change. So over the past, 20 plus years, the High Rocks has been an incredible engine of growth.
I think the best leaders are the listeners and the individuals who can step back and just observe and to see what's happening and to learn what's going on. The best leaders are the ones who take a minute to understand.
The whole organization really runs off of student feedback. It looks like an organization that has been built by kids saying, this is what I need right now. We don't want to be a top-down organization. We really want the information to come from the bottom up to build what we're doing.
I think that at High Rocks, one thing that's really cool, and I hope we can always keep this, is that we really do kind of change on the basis of what the girls want and how they are.
And I do think that that's something that we work really hard with, is critical thinking. and thinking outside of the box and around corners.
There is nothing that I don't want to hear from a girl. What I want to hear from a girl is exactly where she is.
So it's been pretty interesting to change with the culture, of how the culture changes and how people decide they want different things, and to still be able to have those values and that support for people and that not just compassion but actually respect. Really trying to build respect.
I think like everybody is always like so caught up in being in a straight line or in a specific way or in an orderly process, you know, this step before this step. But I feel like you have to go off the beaten path to really just kind of make things work.
I'm really interested in the idea of serendipity, which is things happen for a reason. You don't know what the reason is, and sometimes people might not notice it, but like with High Rocks, the whole first 5 years was nothing but that.
You want to know how you can take kids from West Virginia and have them feel hopeful about the world and feel like they can go out into the world and that things will be good and they will prosper, both as individuals and as a society and as human beings in the world. And the answer to that question is really simple. You sit down, you look at them, and you say, what should we do?
And we change our programming all the time depending on who's interested in what, because the most important thing is I want them to be taught by people who are super passionate about what they're doing, because they can catch passion. They can catch onto that and latch onto that ability to just be really engaged in what you're doing. And I think that High Rocks is really good at really cultivating that experience for girls. I think that's, you know, you'll hear the girls talk about magic, you'll hear staff talk about the magic of High Rocks. But it really, the core of it lies in passionate people loving what they're doing and having an outlet to share that experience with a broader community.
Everybody that comes learns a real lot about organization, about how things should be and how things shouldn't be and what motivates people. And I have a little box over there that I found here, which is pictures of a whole bunch of girls, just random pictures of, and I just look at them and I look at all those pictures and even the pictures in the lodge, and I think, oh my God, every single one of these kids came and got so much out of this, even if we never hear of them again.
So High Rocks teaches that everybody's a leader, and leading doesn't mean that you're the loudest voice in the room. It doesn't mean that you're the most important voice in the room. It means that you have the ability to pull other people together and to give everybody a voice and everybody equal opportunity to step forward and take over. And sometimes the leader is not the front person. Sometimes the leader is the one who steps back and like removes themselves from the situation to give the shy, quiet participants a chance to like step into that focal point. So leadership is more about building people up and supporting them and helping them find their way. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or what your skill set is. Everybody has a leader inside of them. And that's what we're teaching our participants. And we're building that leader up to feel comfortable and to come out.
High Rocks is playing a long game. And so I believe that if we can raise young people to grow up to be leaders who have high social and emotional intelligence, who have high levels of empathy, who have high levels of problem solving and public speaking and media literacy, and can do math and be successful, and can run meetings, that is the thing that will lead to a world that is more equal, where all of those people and all of those young people in the future actually have a shot.
High Rocks for me provided an environment where it was okay to make mistakes. It was okay to kind of go off the beaten path and like learn about stuff that school wasn't gonna teach you, you know. And I think that's what High Rocks aims to do for not just, you know, Appalachian women, but for everyone that's a part of High Rocks, is giving them the opportunity to be lifetime learners.
I think it's trying to give young people so much support to be able to think differently about themselves and not telling them how to be. That feeling of not being judged is so powerful. And change will happen really fast to you in a place like that.
The High Rocks started with a girl, and it inspired a generation. And that is a sentence that was written probably 10 years ago by one of the people that had come through our program as High Rocks was transitioning sort of from the first phases of just being this girls program into all of the things that grew out of that from there. And to me, that sentence, especially because it was penned by somebody that went through that process, has always held the heart of the High Rocks.
So I think like there's definitely, you can see that change in the generation of High Rocks. But at the same time, the stories are still the same.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was just meant to be. I think it was meant to be. I don't know. I was done. I didn't want to teach anymore. I didn't want to teach in the public school system. So I don't know. What if it had flopped? I just think it didn't flop because it was a time where it needed to happen, and there was just like a little opening, somewhere, It slid right in, and that's what happened. I don't know that means it's going to last forever like that. But I think that that's what happened.
I want the High Rocks methodologies and thoughts to be spread out into the world. I want people to challenge them and learn from them and involve a whole lot more people in the process of sharpening the things that we do and how we can get better at thinking about these things, that we can, together with everybody else, make a place and a world where you don't need a High Rocks anymore, because every young person has those opportunities and every young person has that support.
I don't think it has to go on forever to be worthwhile. I think that when I look at all those pictures of the girls, I think that even if it doesn't stay, nothing can ever stay like it was. Everything changes. Life has changed, God has changed, everything has changed, And so if you're gonna hold on to a definition or a thing that something reaches, or like Jamie says, a plateau, it's just gonna change into something else. And it's really hard to accept that kind of change, which is just flowing all the time. So, I don't know, it might be a good way to end the conversation because it's what I really think. I think we get so hung up in having an ending or a plateau or a significance, and I don't really know if that's true. The end. If you don't handle change, change will handle you. Topic of my father's most famous sermon.
On this mountain, my words rule the height of the altitude. The spirit of these things I speak paints a picture of warmth. The time is summer, and she flows freely from you. And you will notice her absence in autumn. On this mountain, she sings a lullaby to me that rings differently in my sister's ears. The spirit of these sisters that belongs to the dirt. I paint a picture of this mountain. The mountain is our mother, and her heart is yours for the taking. You will notice her steadiness within you when she pushes you onto your back. By cool bars, she raises her cubs. Nestled between her trees comes wisdom and hard calluses. The time is soon, and she weeps. But you are strong, the spirit of the mountain.